Now, let me ask you a question. Have you ever just been extremely sad? Or the fact that you're below everyone else? Do you wish that you could gain control over everyone? That you become their leader, being capable of doing more than they can? Is there any shortcut to success you can take? Have you ever felt lost? Well, don't worry because exploits are here to save your day. It doesn't matter what games you play, there's a high chance you have encountered an exploit before, or better known as hackers. There are people who use third-party programs to gain an unfair advantage in games, and it's always against the rules of the game, making you prone to being banned. One game exploiters really thrive on is Roblox, and there are many reasons as to why that's the case. First of all, the game does not require you to pay any money to play the game, making it very easy to just make a new account with the sole purpose to be an account for exploits. Another big reason as to why that's the case is the platform's accessibility. The game does not require much power to run, which means any computer that is up to 10 years old should be able to run the game. And that's the case with the exploits too. Exploits are so accessible nowadays, it's extremely easy to download them and set them up. There also exists exploits for Mac computers and Android devices, making them more accessible. So how did we get to this point? How did exploits become so mainstream in the game? We can only solve this by going back in time, in this case to the year 2009. Here we see the first video on YouTube revolving around exploits, and in this case it's a tutorial. It is really tame compared to what we have today, but we all gotta start somewhere. It was just like another tutorial from the early YouTube days, with those memorable songs and a creator typing in Notepad to interact with the viewers. The video was about how to perform a simple exploit in a tycoon game to gain a lot of money. And the software used is called cheat engine, which lets you change game values so you can gain an advantage in games. This may not seem as much by today's standards, but this is everything people had back then, and this started the trend of people wanting to develop the most advanced and best exploit for a platform. Fast forward to 2010, where we can see exploits getting more advanced and using different methods for them to work. Here we can see another person using the cheat engine program, but in a different way. This exploit lets you change the look of the in-game skybox, and even though it doesn't seem like a lot, it was a fairly creative process you had to pull off in order for it to work. After injecting the exploit, you would have to drop a sword item and drop it for the exploit to run. It was not stable either, as you can see the texture is glitching in the video too. This is also known as Z-fighting, which happens when two items with different textures overlap each other. Now this is when things are starting to get interesting. As exploits were becoming more popular, many people were finding ways to combat them, and thus the anti-exploit was born. The first sign I could find of anti-exploits existing on the platform is a video of someone who had recreated one, and it is sorta hilarious if you ask me. So basically, what the game does is that it checks every few seconds if an item from the game has gone missing from people using exploits, and if it does, well, just watch what happens.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening.
That's right, it starts blasting kung fu fighting with a volume level so high it will probably give you tinnitus while showing a message on the screen. And to make it even better, it shuts down the whole game. No, it doesn't just kick the explorer, it kicks everyone! Hooray! And while we are in 2012, I think I also should mention the 2012 April Fool's hacking incident. What happened was in the 1st of April in the year 2012, a select few people were given full admin control over the website and used it to perform some questionable acts, if I should say so. Now in 2013, we can see very early footage of what seems to be a program fully dedicated to be used with the Roblox program and not something that can be used with other programs such as cheat engine. This means better compatibility and far more possibilities regarding what you can do. This exploit lets you type scripts in the chat to execute them, and as you can see, they are more advanced now, as they can achieve more than just changing a game value like the other exploits did. People were happy, well, some people at least, and exploring to their heart's content. But there was something on the way to stop this all. Here comes 2014, and filtering enabled is introduced. What really is filtering enabled? It was a type of anti-exploit that would not let changes done from your client be seen by others, which means changing in-game values such as currency was no longer possible. This really hurted the Roblox exploit community as their possibilities were now more limited than ever, but it was not the end of the world. Things that didn't affect any values that is directly linked to the game were still able to be changed, such as walk speed or jump power. And game developer had to manually enable the feature for their game, so many games were left unchanged and people would still be able to use their old exploits there. And now, moving forward, this is where we see exploits becoming the thing they resemble today. Effortlessly put together programs, well, most of them, and those brain damage inducing videos that have a 90% chance of being spam. Like in 2015 to 2016, experts were actually making progress with things such as level 7 executors and etc. But then, the progress sorta halted and we were left with crappy exploits that some people like to refer to as so-called Bitcoin miners. And those, no. In 2018, one of the biggest updates regarding exploits happening was the removal of the non-filtering enabled games. I think we all should take a moment for non-filtering enabled games, as this made many people extremely butthurt. Rest in peace, non-filtering enabled games. You will, I don't know, be missed by some, I guess. Ah, yes. And well, that's pretty much it. Almost. Because let's talk about the present. And the highlight here is the player base, because there really hasn't been any breakthrough regarding exploits in a while. The type of people using exploits nowadays are rather interesting. We have the obnoxious people looking like a clump of colored bricks, trying to resemble what the players used to look like years back. They probably have a password guest account and will try to pull your IP because they can't pull any bitches. And we have these people too. Hey man, you're white. No. And well, that's pretty much it. I apologize for my long hiatus. Expect more frequent uploads in the future. And before I end this video, I do actually have a Discord server. The link to it is in the description for anybody willing to join it. And with that said, see you next time. Ah, ah, ah.